Yo, what is going on, guys? Inzem here, and today we have another episode of the character analysis series where we will be talking about Blue Goku. So this character is definitely seen a lot more play, especially in this current version of the game, thanks to Nitro, right? And we're gonna kind of go over why and why he's a really strong character in this build of the game. So let's get to it. Okay, so let's start by talking about his buttons. So to preface it, he actually has really good buttons, right? Standard 5L, he's a 6-frame character, it's -3 and he can do it twice. His 2L hits low, which enables high-low mix-ups. He has a 5M that goes really far, as you can see. And as you can see, it's -8, but he actually has a command normal if he pressed his 4 and does it. As you can see, it gets slightly smaller, but it becomes -2. So having a -2 button is really good, because he can do things like... It's very hard to stop this. He has a pretty standard 2M. He has the Goku 2M, which goes very far. It is unsafe, but it does the job. He has a pretty decent 5H. The cool thing about his 5H is, again, it's -8, meaning it's safe to certain moves. And if you hold back, as you can see, it has extra pushback. This is good for if you want to space himself out in a string like doing this. That's really good. His 5S is pretty standard. He shoots up to, I believe, 6 of them. And nothing too special about it, but he can do something cool that we're going to talk about a little bit later. And the other thing that is extra about him is his second his auto combo is actually a low, which is really good because that means he just has extra lows he can do in his string. Like that. He can use his low right here and save another one for later. This actually makes his pressure pretty scary to escape, combined with some of his mix-up tools that we are going to look at a little bit later, like I said. The last thing I want to mention about his block strings is actually that he has something pretty unique to him where he can actually end a block string in being -2. And for those who don't know, -2 is kind of a magic number where you can actually usually backdash against most characters as long as their jabs don't reach too far. So, to show an example of this. See, that's really good. The other thing that's pretty cool about his buttons is actually this button, his JS. This JS is pretty unique, very different from the normal SJ Goku counterpart. As you can see, for SJ Goku and the other Gokus like Base Goku and stuff, their JSs halt their momentum in the air, but his actually retains all of his momentum the entire time, which gives it a very aggressive feeling to it. And because of this, he can actually be very plus on jump-ins, as you can see. And this stuff is really good for being able to approach relatively quickly and also frame trapping into it, like that. See that true stream? That is like really good in neutral. So to talk about his specials is pretty tricky because he's a character that has a lot of different moves that do a lot of very specific things. And when you're initially picking him up, it might seem pretty overwhelming because he has a lot of options, but as long as you play him long enough and start to get to know when to use which move, it should start feeling pretty good. So to start it all off, he actually has a lariat. He can do this in the air, and the good thing about this lariat is it is not -9. It is 9-frame startup, meaning it is extremely fast and it goes really far for something that fast. The other unique thing about this lariat is that it is actually key blastable, meaning it will just go through key blast based moves, as you can see. And this is very good, especially in this meta, considering how strong key blast assists are. Kind of looking at you, Vegito. But yeah, he can kind of get through neutral structures, even zoning with this one, and all 3 of his lariats are like this. So it's really good for that. The last thing I'd like to mention about his lariat is that it is actually a H priority move, meaning that as long as this move comes in contact with another move, 9 times out of 10 it will always win, so you never have to worry about something just beating it outright, as you can see. Even though these moves are coming in contact on each other at the same time, because his lariat is the highest priority in the game, which means it will never lose. And what that means for you basically means you can basically always approach with this without ever worrying that it's going to lose to something. And because this is H priority and it's key blastable, you can actually get past things like this. That's really good. His next special move I'm going to talk about is dive kick. His dive kick is basically a move that puts him to the ground relatively quickly, standard dive kick. But as you can see, it's really safe from higher up, like -3. Same thing for medium. But the real special version of this move is definitely the EX version, which not only teleports him into the air, and he retains air actions. It is insanely quick, and it has almost little to no whiff recovery, as you can see. So you can kind of like get away with spamming this. And this is a very strong neutral tool because it's very difficult to stop. The other thing I'm going to mention about his EX lariat is the fact that it puts you in the air with no landing recovery, which means it also doubles as a very strong mix-up tool, even from neutral. As you can see, that's low. He can even cross up, weird stuff like that. He can go high. He can go cross up low. The combinations are infinite. And if you want to be really nasty, you can do something like... Yeah, good luck blocking that. His next special move that I want to talk about is actually his command grab. He has a series of 3 different command grabs, light, medium, and heavy. Medium is relatively slow, but he also teleports and it goes decently far. I wouldn't recommend using this one that much because in offline play it's pretty reactable as far as I can tell. But the real standout versions of this move is the EX and especially the light. So the light is actually a unreactable command grab. For those of you who don't know, 17 frames is kind of the number the community widely agrees upon that things start becoming unreactable at that speed, meaning that your opponent actually has to guess. This straight up just beats block. If you think your opponent is blocking, you can simply throw them. The other unique thing about his command grab is the fact that it combos on successful hit, which is pretty unique for a command grab, especially one that's unreactable. So this is really, 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 really strong. His EX version is kind of a combination of both. While it is slower than the light version, it is faster than the medium version. And it also causes a pretty dramatic wall bounce, which gives some pretty easy combos as long as you're ready to confirm. So that's nice. Also forgot to mention about his tackles. The EX version also will track behind you, which is really nice for getting behind neutral structures such as this. If somebody's shooting too much key blast, you can actually use this to get behind them, and you can get a pretty easy combo from this one. Because again, it causes a pretty dramatic wall bounce, so that's really, really good. The other thing about this is it actually tracks in the air if you use it in the air. If you use it on the ground, somebody's in the air, it will not track to them. But if you do it in the air, and they're in the air, as you can see, he will try his best to find the opponent in the air, which is really nice to combine with assist to get strong pressure, like that. But be careful, because this can be 2H'd if you do it in the air. So be a little careful of that one. On to its last special moves. It is a series of teleports, 214S and 236S. It's instant transmission, and he basically will teleport to either in front of you or behind you, depending on which one you do. The one behind you that is slightly slower, but because they are such similar speeds, this is basically a guess once he actually teleports. They can both be 2H'd, which you have to be careful about, but this one's really good because you can use it in certain situations to kind of catch them off guard. So 2 situations that are good for is 1, to punish beams. If you know somebody's going to shoot a beam, you can use it to track behind them, get a nice punish. And the second useful way to use this move is you can actually use it when he is off screen, and because this basically has no startup cue, like it's very subtle when he actually does it unless you can see him, it can really like jump scare the opponent because they can't tell he's doing it and he just teleports to you instantly. So to show an example of this, it'll look like this. Let's say somebody's chilling up here and you notice they're too high up. You cannot tell I'm doing that. He makes no sound when he's doing it. And it can be very, very scary for the opponent. So similar to base Vegeta, I wanted to talk about his supers a little bit because he's another character that has very unique setup supers. And being that his level 1 actually causes a sliding knockdown. So similar to base Vegeta, he can use this to give very strong situations for characters who typically do not have knockdowns off their super. So for example, you can get a safe jump with a character that normally cannot have a knockdown situation off of her super. So this is very, very strong for utility. The last unique thing about his supers is his level 3 has 2 pretty cool things about it. So 1, if you're holding down the button, he'll perform a side switch. And if you keep holding it down after the side switch, he'll perform a level 5, which is really nice for confirming kills. So this kind of helps him out to be a point character to kind of like push out that extra little damage he needs to confirm kills. This is really, really good. So to talk about his assists a little bit, he actually has 2 pretty good assists. So if you guys already know me, I kind of already dislike C assists as they are, unless certain type of C assists. So again, I wouldn't really recommend using his C assists too much, but his other 2 assists are really, really, really good. So the first one is actually his dive kick. This was recently buffed to always track to the opponent. Before, it used to spawn behind you then track to them, but now, as you can see, he kind of just spawns in front of you then kicks you, which is really, really nice. This is good because you can combine with things like Ki Blast to basically almost use like a beam assist to go in. It causes a pretty dramatic ground bounce on hit, meaning this is very easy to combo with. An example will look like this. As you see, I have a lot of time to confirm that. And it also has a pretty unique property similar to how he is on point. This move actually is just hard-coded to cause a sliding knockdown, which is pretty unique. So let's say SJ Goku, for example, right? If I do a combo like this, this will use a sliding knockdown. So typically, he won't have access to it. But if I use the assist, wrong assist, as you can see, even though I already used my sliding knockdown, that assist will always cause a sliding knockdown. So if you're unsure how to end the combo, you can actually just call this assist and it will end it for you, and just use that as the knockdown and go for like a safe jump or something. The last cool thing about this assist is actually if you're close, similar to how Vegito A or SSJ Vegeta A works, he will actually kind of spawn behind you a little bit, as you can see. And this is good because he can actually be protected in certain situations. Let's say the opponent tries to take their turn and you call the assist. As you can see, he'll protect you and you can get a free punish for it. So it's a really, really good assist. His other assist, Divine Void Strike, is basically just his light lariat. It's good because it is 20 frames, which is the unreactable range for an assist for the most part. And it is also Ki Blast involved, similar to how the move works on point. So it can actually be used to, again, get past neutral structures, or more importantly, deal with that assist, if you can counter call it. Really, really good stuff. His C assist, like I said, isn't too crazy standout of assist, at least in my opinion. It is his teleport kick, 35 frame block stun, so it's pretty high block stun for the most part. But the unique thing about this C assist is it will actually track to you in the air, or will do its best job to, which some C assists do not, as you can see. So again, a little bit better than the normal C assist, but again, I would definitely recommend either his A or B assist. My personal favorite is A assist, but choose whichever assist that makes you comfortable with your team comp, and it will definitely help your team out a lot. Okay, let's talk about the interesting thing about this character, right? So the cool thing about him that sets him apart from the rest of the cast, in my personal opinion, is that he actually has access to virtually every type of mix-up in this game possible. He can left-right you with this move or this move. He can high-low you because he has access to a 2L low, and he has a very easy way to get into his high-low mix-up. And he has access to unreactable command grabs that he can even combo off of for really, really, really high damage. So let's look at them, right? So again, like I said, 2L low, meaning in the corner, he has Super Dash Mix. This is a good 50-50, and this is very standard. And even mid-screen, he has access to get into it as long as you jail into his EX dive kick, because he can do a true string into a mix-up, like that, which is pretty unique to only a few characters. Him having access to this is very, very, very strong. And his last mix-up option for the most part is his light command grab. I'd recommend using this one a lot because, like I said, it is unreactable. And he can actually tick into it off a few normals. It doesn't go as far as other command grabs, so if you try something like this, it won't work. But if you do it off a dash up normal, off his 2M, you delay it a little bit. Off his 5H, delay it. A little more delay. And off a jump in, if you do something like JM with a JH or his Ki Blast, he will actually be close enough to grab you. So whenever he puts you in one of these situations, it's virtually a guess whether or not you're going to strike them or throw them. If you assume the opponent doesn't want to get command grab because you did it too many times, all you have to do is kind of use one of his lows, which is nice because that's where his extra low comes into play, right? Lows are better for catching people trying to jump. He gets a lot of reward off either. So for an example of how much damage you can get off a command grab combo, it'll look like this. That's almost half your health off something you couldn't react to. That is very, very strong, and I think almost no character in the game can do something like that, so that's really, really valuable. And like I said, because of how his EX dive kick works, he can actually enable mix-ups from neutral, doing things like this. Say he's jumping around and you want to approach. Not only is this a very strong approaching tool, because it happens very fast and it's at a very good angle, he actually gets a mix-up from this. And you can do whatever you want. You can do that, you can go low, same side, you can go low cross-up, like that. You can go same side overhead, cross up overhead. You can do command grab because it pushes right beside him. Cross up command grab, close enough. Or you can even fake a cross up and go back to the same side. So he has a plethora of mix-up options, which is basically unguardable. If he puts you in a block string, you're toast. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is his very high combo damage in the corner. You kind of saw it a little bit earlier with his command grab routes, but because he's a character that can loop a certain string over and over again in the corner, he can basically push his combos to the max as long as you confirm where you are on the screen and that you know how much hit stun you're at. So for an example of a normal BMB, a character typically do something like a smash into a combo. That's pretty decent damage, right? Around the average. But because he's a looping character, he can do something like this. They are a little hard to execute sometimes, but if you actually main this character and practice it a little bit, I feel like everyone can get the hang of it. And that is a lot of damage just by himself. So you can imagine if he uses assists, how much damage he can get. And for an example of an assisted combo, see if I can kind of show you guys. He can start really pushing all the way up to maybe even 50% depending on how you optimize him. So it's really, really good. As you can see, if I got that Dragon Rush, that'd at least be around 4.7 before supers. That is some of the highest damage output in the game. So in conclusion, he's a character who's a very, very, very strong point in mid. You can even run him anchor if you want. I've talked to certain players. I know Wawa thinks he's actually a pretty decent anchor, but I do think his preferred positions are point or mid. He's a character who has access to very good neutral because he has a lot of counterplay options between his Ki Blast and Roll, his teleporting stuff, and how high mobility he can be at times. You know, teleport, dive kicks and stuff. Very strong aggressive Ki Blast to keep away. And if you block these, he can take his turn. And he has pretty easy hit confirms almost off all his things, and has unique things like this. So I recommend, if you want to play this character, and especially if you can perform his loops in the corner, I think this character is for you. So like always, if you guys enjoy these type of videos, please make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what character you want me to do next. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.